To our second day of our student SpeakOut event. Our first day was fantastic, very inspiring. Left with all kinds of ideas. I was in fact overwhelmed by all the wonderful things you had to say. I expect nothing less than that today. We've got a great lineup of 4 speakers today. Not as long as last time, but we will be wrapping it up and we'll be inspired nonetheless. So just as a quick reminder of what we're doing, you all have been engaged in some significant research on social issues affecting our community all semester long. You've been writing pretty extensively about these things, researching pretty extensively, and today in our SpeakOut event, it comes together where you distill these ideas down to a short talk with the idea of inspiring others to become informed, to care about these issues, and ultimately to act upon these issues, okay? You've been using a technique called public narrative, which combines a story of self, a story of us, and most significantly, a story of right now. So that's what we're doing today, and without further ado, Evelyn?
On my way to work every morning, I pass the same route. I always take the same route to work. And on my way to work every morning, I see a lot of familiar faces standing on the streets. On my way to work, even when I'm at work and I'm looking out the windows, I could see homeless people passing the bank. I work in 26th Street, so it's not odd seeing them passing around on the streets. I find myself going outside of work. When we have a lot of rushes, I go out and I just walk around. And what I notice is I see homeless people, but I find myself not looking at the homeless people. I find myself looking at the people around them. So what I've noticed when I observe is that people tend to look at them funny. People tend to cross the street so that they're not near them, or they go on their phones so they don't make eye contact with them. But I also find them talking about them, and it's not odd. As social beings, we compare ourselves all the time, whether it's good or bad. But I can't seem to understand how a person who has the prime time of their life is comparing themselves to someone who's at the lowest point of their life. When I went to PADS, I noticed that the level of judgment there disappeared. There wasn't no judgment. You were welcomed and you felt support. You felt warmth, and you knew that you were in a place that provided shelter and food. I noticed that a lot of the people there were not someone that you would envision as a homeless person. They looked just like you and me. Like, you would never think that they would spend the night at a homeless shelter. But one thing that I noticed that caught my eye as soon as the woman walked in was a young girl. She was probably about mid-20s. She walked in with her 2 kids. And it was so sad to me because, you never envision kids going through that tough of a time where you're standing in the line and you're waiting to see if you could come in and receive food. But I also noticed that there was a young woman, I can't remember her name. She volunteers as she's going to school to be a social worker, and she volunteers there, and she just literally just sits there and lets them talk to them, and they talk to her and they tell her their problems, and just having her there, I bet, provide so much support to these people who, on the street, don't have anyone. So I know that a lot of us are college students and that a lot of us don't have time to spare. We're booked with exams and everything, but simply by volunteering could go a long way. John, the main organizer of the facility, he was so happy when me and Ryan volunteered and Mr. McGuire, because he had that much more time to do things that he never seemed to focus on, which were little things, but he was always busy. Another way I know that we could help if we can't volunteer, because I know our schedules are so busy, is by simply donating clothes to the Salvation Army or organizations like that, because organizations like PADS gets their clothes that they provide for the homeless from the Salvation Army. So any little thing counts, and these people are just as important as us. They're not any different. So, thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Nuka, and I'll be talking about hunger. Growing up, or to start off, I was born in Mongolia, which is considered to be an underdeveloped country to some people. And that being said, it's a given that there are homeless people and who are hungry in the streets everywhere. And growing up, I always saw a lot of homeless people, and it's in little kids too, and even what was considered to be rich neighborhoods. And seeing the kids like that who are my age affected so severely by hunger that you can literally see the physical detrimental effects of it, it struck me hard. Because I always had food on the table. I never understood the concept of hunger and how it actually worked. Because like I said, I always had food on the table provided for me. No matter how minimal it was, I still had something in my belly. There are a lot of people to be acknowledged with this crisis. I would hope to think that many people are aware of how detrimental it is of the effects of hunger, but in some cases, that's really not the case. A lot of people don't know. And there are people every day who are affected by it, people every day who has to go to work and act normal and like they're well fed, but they're in that constant state of discomfort and hunger. In the US, there are over 20% of households with children who are affected by hunger. You can sit down. Who are affected by hunger. That's with children, households with children. The statistical data of that is depressing enough, but knowing there are children who are being underfed and knowing there are children who lack the basic food nutrients and they think it's so normal to be underfed. And there are even children who go to schools hungry and maybe even bullied because they don't bring quality lunches to school every day. This being said, there are a lot of students at Moraine Valley, in our campus, in our community, who lack food insecurity as well. Doing the Project Service Learning Group, Project Care, and it really helped widen and open my mind and perspective about how common food insecurity actually is. On campus, after meeting with Teresa Hannon, the Project Care supervisor, I found out that only 11 students last semester during the fall 2015 semester had access to food pantry, and we do have a food pantry here. It's in S206, by the way. And only 6 people this spring access to food pantry. And I'm very sure that a lot of people on campus are actually hungry, but they just don't know where to get help. There are a lot of hungry people to be acknowledged with this crisis. And we can do a lot just to aid them in getting help and preventing food security. Even the littlest thing can help, whether it's by donating to your local food pantry or just gaining some knowledge and letting other people know about food pantry. Anything can help, really. Just think about that time where your parents denied you of McDonald's and then you felt like you were starving, but you really weren't, let's be honest. Just think about that time. Now think about that issue where you felt like you were being starved to death, but that's how people who are actually in need of food and are in food insecurity feel every day. They lack the money and they lack the food, and then if they get their paycheck, it's going toward either rent and sometimes food, because you can't really have both. But we can help that. You guys can go to your local food pantry. I'm asking this of you, please. You guys can clean out your pantry and your closets and your cabinets, whatever the case, and get your food items together. And I know you guys have some soups or cans of whatever food items in your pantry that you guys don't use, but you just keep in there anyways. Please gather that up and donate it to our campus's food security prevention program. It's an S206. And with the littlest thing you guys can help, maybe even like a member of your community, maybe even someone you know but never realized they're food insecure, because you can't really tell sometimes. Even, like I said, even the simplest thing can help. Thank you.
They say if at first you don't succeed, try again. Just do it. Just do it. And no, this is not no Nike motivational commercial, growing up, my parents always used to tell me, just do it. Where I was from, not everybody had food to eat. Not everybody had clothes to put on their backs. Not everybody had a home. The poverty rate in the Philippines is around 10 to 70%. However, these people were from where I was from. These would be the most genuinely happy people you've ever met in your life, and I guarantee that. Growing up, I didn't have it as bad as these people did. However, I am very, very thankful to experience that part of the world at such a young age, because it has taught me the lifelong lesson, which still sticks with me to this day, and that is to always be kind and to never ever judge the next person. I'm very thankful and very proud to come from where I come from. Going to my volunteer experience in pad shelter, I didn't really have too much prior knowledge on the issue of homelessness. I didn't really think about it before, to be honest. According to the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, there's 565,000 people who are homeless in America, and 25% of that number are children. 25,000 students in the Chicagoland area alone are homeless. If you look to your left and if you look to your right, they could be homeless. You know, these people are just like us. You know, going to my service learning experience, I couldn't tell who was homeless and who was volunteering. That's how normal these people are. And I don't mean that in a bad way at all, because if you truly get to know these people and if you sit down and talk to these people, they're just like you and I, human. Local organizations like the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless focus on tackling the root of the issue, which is the lack of affordable housing. Through research and experience, investing in permanent housing not only is very effective towards reducing the rate of homelessness, it is also very effective cost-wise because it's very cost-effective. It doesn't really take much to make an impact on someone's day or life. All it really takes is a simple act of kindness or a simple smile, really. It's really that simple. Will everybody do it? No. But it all really starts with you. It all starts with me. It all starts with all of us. As a community, we shouldn't let hate or prejudice hold us back, but instead we should spread peace, love, and positivity. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Gianna, where are you? Okay. All right. Wow. So impressive. You guys did a fantastic job. Last time, today, I'm impressed by your courage. I know it's not easy to come up in front of even a familiar audience, especially where there's a camera lurking in the corner of the room, making our audience much larger than it appears. So thank you for all of your inspiration, all of your courage to come up here and talk about things that are important to you, to all of us, and to give us some ideas of what to do. If you leave after today and last time without some ideas about what you might do to make positive change, you weren't listening very well, because there are so many ideas, right? And of course, you heard a lot, and it's overwhelming too, I understand that, but if you want to hear more about these opportunities that all of your classmates talk to you about, ask them, go up to them. If you missed something, ask them about it. Or of course, you can come and talk with me if you are interested in maybe getting involved or learning more about some of these other opportunities that you haven't necessarily focused on this semester. Just ask me. I've got lots of connections, lots of resources for all of you if you're inclined. Okay? Thank you so much. I think we had a good speak out. Good job.